Hi everyone, welcome back to another For Those Who Code video. This channel is where we discuss and learn new skills around the topics of design and development. If you want to grow your skills and learn new things that's coming up, please like, share, and please do subscribe for more. In this video, we'll be learning on how we can create a simple Raffle application built entirely with React. Let's take a look at what we'll be building. So this is the application that we'll be coding together. Here we'll cover some basic concepts of React like use of useStateHook, use refhook, use effect hook, and if you see some animation here which we'll be using one of the most popular React library called React Spring. So to achieve this we will obviously use React Spring, and finally we will announce the Raffle winner, and we'll also be using another library which is React Confetti. This will be a good learning and practice for us. So let's see the application. So here we can see two buttons, which is start Raffle and a shuffle button, and here we can see the list of names. Obviously you can add a lot more names that like as you like. So for simplicity I have just added a bunch of random names for now. So first of all, let's go ahead and start the raffle. Alright, let's go ahead and click start raffle, and as you can see the names are being faded out behind the scene, like thanks to React Spring for this awesome animation. And ultimately when we have all the like names faded out, one winner will be selected. So Gary Barnett, congratulations, you have won the raffle. All right, so this is the application, and you can also see a confetti kind of thing here, and which is great. So let's go ahead and replay the raffle again. So and let's go and click on the shuffle button, and let's see what happens. If we click on the shuffle button, obviously these names are being shuffled behind the scene, and we can obviously start another round of raffle giveaway. So this is pretty much simple application that we are trying to build. So without any delay, let's get this started. So I've already created a blank React project from scratch using create React app latest, and here we have the files ready for us, and currently it's like spinning up in port 3000. So let's go ahead and visit our app.js file, and let's remove everything that we don't need. And here we can see this is our React Raffle app. All right, so first of all, what I want to do is I want to make a new file and call data.js. So here we will have all the list of names that we have which are like the Raffle players. So I'll grab the list of names and paste it right here. So these are data, which is an array of object with some key value of name, and the value is the name, and ultimately like exporting this constant we defined, which is data. I will go ahead and save it. Let's go ahead and import this stuff right in here. So import data from found object with key names. All right, which is working fine as expected. So to loop down all the data that we have here, we will need some piece of state. So for that we will be using useStateHook. So names and set names, so which would be useState, and that would be imported with here. Let's move here and let's keep a gap there. All right, so if we like check the names, then it should be full of data that we have. So let's go ahead and loop down our names. So names dot map, and we want to map the names with names and index as a parameter here, and we will make the use of flat arrow, and here we will have div of, and inside here we will have names, but that would be inside of li, So we will always need a UL as a wrapper, and UL, and inside this UL you'll move this li there, format a bit, and hit the save. As you can see here, there is a warning which is set names is assigned but never used. To make the use of set names, we need to place a button like we have start raffle button. So for now I'll just add a button here, so which would be just before this particular statement or this particular line, where we will have button, and this particular button would contain a text start raffle, and that would invoke a function, and when we click on it, so it would be on click, and we will start raffle here. So let's go ahead and create that function. We'll create a constant, or we can just add function with this name. And so thanks for the intelligence, but we will check whether, first of all, I want to check if the names dot length is greater than is equal to 1. I mean less than is equal to 1, then I don't want to execute anything from here. So if it's not, then we will create a constant and call a random index, which would be method floor or method random with names dot length. Not this one. Math dot floor and math dot random names dot length. Yeah. With this, we'll just grab a random index from the current names length. And we will create another constant and call filter out names. So that would be like filtering out the names that we will grab from the random index, so which would be this one, names.filter, which would take just a name for now, not an index. So we will grab the name, and if the name is not equal to the name with this random index that's been generated, then we will ultimately set, this would be uppercase, so we will set the names to the filtered out names. And let's go ahead and see this in action, and we can see all the listed names. Let's go ahead and refresh. It's working fine. Let's go ahead and click the start raffle button. We missed out S here because we have names as a plural here. So if we go ahead and save it and see it in the browser, we can start the raffle, and as you can see, we have successfully removed one random index from the list of data that we have. If we go ahead and click on this, one random index has been removed, and it's filtered out and again set back to the state. And if we further click on this, we just have one item in this array, so it won't be further executed, because we have, if names.length is less than is equal to 1, then we won't be executing any of the code here. So this is working fine, but we want to execute this function when we start raffle, then it executes it itself. So to perform that, we will obviously need to make the use of use effect hook. So let's go ahead and grab like import use effect hook. So we'll create a new uh, use effect hook. uh, we'll call a use effect right here, and inside here what we want to do is we want to create a constant and call it filtering filtering timer, because it should execute in a certain time interval, and we will filter out the index of it. So set time out. So, and that would be that arrow, and here, sorry, not here, but here we will execute this function in 1000 millisecond. Use this function and just add this right here, and this will execute this particular function in the interval of 1000 millisecond. So ultimately we want to create use effect dependency array and add initial, for now we'll just add names and start Raffle as a dependency inside this dependency area here. Cleanup function for our use effect, because we want to clean up this particular set timeout in after this interval. So that can be done like writing a return function. So this should be a function, so which would be clear timeout filter timer. And let's go ahead and format this a bit. Let's save it, and we have use effect is like missing. Let's go ahead and import this, and let's hit save. And as you can see here, we have successfully like executed this in the interval of 1000 millisecond, which is great, which is executing start Raffle in 1000 millisecond. So this is working as expected, but we have a problem here. So the problem is when we like go ahead and refresh this page. So let's go ahead and refresh it. It start executing this particular function, but we really don't want to execute that function when we refresh the page, but we want to execute that particular function when we click on start Raffle. So for that one, we will create a new piece of state and call um, initial load and set initial load. Oops, I don't know what's happening for this uh, intelligence, but yeah, initial load and set initial load. So initially that would be false, and we want to track whether the application is initially loading or it's not initially loading. So we want to check it if it's initially loading. So we will grab this and place it right in here. So this should be if initial loading, and we want to return this stuff right here as well. And we want to also add initial loading right inside of our dependency array. Whenever we change names or start Raffle or initial load, any piece of state changes, it executes this whole use effect function. All right, so if it's initial load, so we really haven't made the use of set initial load. So that would be like if we click on the start Raffle, it would set the initial load to true. So let's go ahead and save it, and we can see here warning: start Raffle function make a dependency wrap this definition is use callback hook. But for now we will try to ignore that. uh, that error. But definitely, if you find any solution to this, definitely please do add in the comment there. But we will try to ignore this particular warning for now. So let's go ahead and see it in the browser, and we can see here our function is not invoked right away, but rather than we click on start Raffle and it invokes the function in every 1000 millisecond, which is great. So this is working as expected. Let's go ahead and like import shuffle from Lodash. So we'll be making the use of um, another library called Lodash. And this particular library, we will be using this awesome library, which is a really great library that I personally love. And this library will we will just make the use of one special feature that this library provides us with. So let's go ahead and see our package.json, and we can see Lodash right there. So let me see, we do have Lodash, which is the same version, which is 4.17.21, which is great. So we'll just import one of the so-called feature of Lodash, and we will make the use of shuffle. So to make the use of shuffle, we need another button. So let's import another button right here, and we will like shuffle the same names that we have here. So to shuffle that, we obviously need to like have our on click here, and inside here we want to like invoke a function which would be set names, and inside here we want to shuffle the names that we have. So this shuffle is imported from Lodash, which is this. We are shuffling the names and setting the names again. Let's go ahead and save it, and let's see this in the browser. We really haven't started our app yet. And now we can see two buttons, which is start Raffle, and this should be shuffle. And let's go ahead and click on shuffle. So as you can see, the shuffle is being implemented as well. So another thing that we want to do is now let's go ahead and add React Spring so that we can add some interesting animation feature right away. For that, we will like stop our running server and install React Spring. Before moving into this particular documentation, we want to like go through some basics. So import use Spring animated React Spring, and we can animate a div with this with the help of opacity, like to and from, using to and from. If you are familiar with some kind of library like TwinMax with GreenSock, you must be pretty much familiar with this kind of thing. So I want to take you to this particular article, which is by Smart Devpreneur, which really defines use transition hook really great. So I want to take you to the place where we have list reordering. So this is what we are trying to do, which is list reordering. And here you can also visit this particular link, which opens up Code Sandbox, and see the visual like random visual shuffling of a list. So I want to take you to this particular section, which is use transition hook really comes into play, and this is the use case of use transition. So in the use transition hook, we have three parameters that needs to be passed in, which is rows.map, and that would be the spread of data that we have, and the y is I suppose the height should be passed in. This prop was a bit confusing to me, but it simply takes each object from the rows array and adds a y property and returns a new array populated with these objects. And we also have another thing called d, which is which sets a key for each object returned from use transition hook. And below we can see the prop and state for each object returned by use transition. and that would be height, opacity, and Y. And the state here we can see here would be like from, leave, enter, or update, depending on the UI state. So here we can see what can be done. And if you want to further drill down into this, please, I would recommend you to go through this awesome article of a definition of use transition with React Spring. First of all, let's import React Spring. So I want to import two things from React Spring: the use transition hook itself, and another thing is animated from React Spring. Create a constant and call it transitions, and we will make the use of use transition here. And as discussed, use transition needs three different parameters. So that would be rows.map, which would take in data, and we can see an example right here. So we will obviously do the same that we have here. So names.map, and we want to map names. We will grab in the data and index of this, and we will split the data, and the Y would be 0.5 into multiplied by the index. This should be data, and another thing would be the D, which is like this. Let's go and like paste it right here. And the next parameter that we need is these states, which is from. It would be position, initial, and opacity. It would be like from 0. And another piece of state is leave. So leave would be height, and height we want to reduce the height multiplied by 0.2 here, which would animate in the leave state. And opacity would be 0 if it's leaving. And lastly, we will also want to make the use of enter, and which takes in the Y. And inside here we want to pass Y and opacity set to 1. So and lastly, we want to make the use of update state. That would be what happens when the state is updated. So we should take in the Y, and we are adding the Y here. So let's go ahead and like use this transition inside of our app. So we will remove everything that we have here and make the use of this transition. So transitions.map, and we want to map the item and the props. So, and that would destructure the rest. And we also want to add an index here, and inside here we want to add the animated div, which is transition object returns use transition, then map over to generate the JSX. And there are three interesting notes here, which is animate.div, which is a React string native element that will properly trigger the animated values. So I'm pretty much following this particular article. So I would highly suggest for you to like refer this article if you have anything. Animated div, and we will add a few class here, which is class name of Raffle this memes, and we'll also need a key for this, so we'll add index here, and we will add some styles. For styles, I'll just grab styles that we will be needing, which would be a transform property, which is a CSS property, and we will spread out the rest. And inside this animated div, we want to add everything that we have, I mean everything that we need to animate. So that be inside a span, and which would be item dot name. So yeah, so this is it. Let's go ahead and save it. Let's spin up with npm start. Height is not defined, so let's go ahead and add a constant and call it a height, and add 60 to this. Let's save it, and let's see this in the browser. For now, we'll just go ahead and add npm I react confetti. So confetti, and we will make the use of a bit more state here, so that we can make the right use of react confetti. So for us to use react confetti, we need to create a constant which helps us to know the windows height and windows width. So we will add window height and set, and for initially, for now, we will just add null here. So same, we will add windows width and set window width, and initially that would be null. And we will also need another piece of state for showing confetti and not showing confetti. That's why we will add show confetti and set show confetti. And we will also need another piece of state where we need to refer our app the wrapper of the confetti. So for that, we will make the use of useRef, which will be imported from React here. So let's go ahead and add a new useEffect hook. So inside here, we will be adding set window height and set window width. Whenever we will like initially start the application, we will set the window height and set the windows width right here. So which would refer confetti wrapper. So we really haven't made a reference to confetti wrapper, which is like this. So let's make the use of ref to reference the confetti wrapper, and we will add a confetti wrapper there. And we have like added windows width and set windows width. We really haven't used this, and also like show confetti is not also used. For now, we will just grab the confetti div that we need and paste it right in here. So the confetti div will be just above our transition here. I'll just add a confetti div right here, which will refer the show confetti and set show confetti. Initially, the show confetti recycle would be show confetti, and number of pieces would be 80. The flying pieces would be 80, and width and height would be windows width and height. We have state right here. So set show confetti. So to set show confetti, we will set show confetti in our start raffle of our app to set show confetti to true, and we'll obviously need another piece of state lastly, so that we will be knowing the state of the application, whether we are in the raffling state or we have finished raffling. So for that, we will add raffling and set raffling. Initially, when we start our raffle, we will set, I mean, set this set raffling to true, and we will be using this raffling thing whenever we want to, like this. When we have this raffling, we will only see this particular UI. So we will add this confetti right in here, and another piece of state that we need would be if it's an initial load or not. If it's not an initial load, then we will hide our buttons. So for that, we will like wrap our buttons. If it's not initial load, then we will render this piece of JSX, and inside here we will add our buttons right in here, which would suffice if it's an initial load. And lastly, we want to add this particular thing, that is if we have everything is fine, we want to show our show confetti. So when we are showing the confetti, we want to show the replay button. So for that also, I will just add another piece of JSX, which only renders when we are showing confetti, and it says congratulations, you have won the raffle, and we have button, and which on clicked create a function, invokes a function, and we will obviously need an image, which I have already added here, and which is just in replay. So to when we restart, so we will create another function and call it restart raffle. So when we restart the raffle, we want to set everything to the initial state. So we will set initial load to false, set the names to the data that we have in our imported file, which is the source of data that we have, and set raffling to false and set show confetti to false. And if we go ahead and save this, everything should be working fine. Let's go ahead and like npm start, and let's see this in browser, and this error will also need to go away. Let's see what's wrong. It says can't read property of undefined reading name. So let's see why. That was a weird issue. I just removed the node models and reinstalled the node models file with npmi, and everything looks fine. And currently I have also added some index, just the styles inside of index.css, and everything is working as expected. So let's go ahead and reshuffle this. So it's shuffling as expected. Now let's go ahead and start our raffle. So our raffle is going on, and we are filtering out the random index of the names and setting up our state again in a certain time interval. And ultimately we have Ant won Norman as a raffle winner, and we can obviously replay this. So guys, in this video we learned how we can create a simple raffle application with React. I hope you learned something new from this. So if you guys are still confused about the React Spring Use transition, which I highly suggest for you to like go with this documentation kind of thing right here, and also this particular article which will be linked down below as well. And if you want to learn more around the topics of design and development, please like, share, and subscribe with a click down below. Thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next one.